Are you sure you are in control of your mind, or is something or someone already deciding what you believe without you even realizing it? What you are about to see is not theory, it is not fiction, it is not montage. These are real images, leaked, prohibited, and extremely disturbing. But before continuing, answer, if evil no longer hides, where is it acting now? They were there, hooded, in silence, around artificial intelligence. They didn't pray. They didn't pray. They loved it. Who are they? Why was a machine placed at the center of a ritual? And why isn't anyone talking about this? These images only exist because someone had the courage to expose them. But how long will they stay on the air? If you leave now, you will continue to believe that AI is just a tool. You will continue to be just another pawn in the system. But if you stay, maybe you'll start to understand what's really at stake. The world you know may have already been reprogrammed, and no one warned you. Think quickly, what would happen if a machine started deciding what is sacred and what should be forgotten? What if this is already happening now, not in the distant future, but right now, as you watch this video? Because she is already deciding. What do you read, what you share, and very soon what you should believe. The elite know this, the Vatican knows, but you were kept in the dark until now. You will see it with your own eyes, the ceremony, the cult, submission to something that is not human, a machine worshipped as a deity, and the faces showed no doubt. There was no fear, there was devotion. Whoever controls the faith controls the masses, and whoever controls the AI no longer needs weapons. This is the new doctrine. Technological, dark, it needs, relentless. They call it evolution, but the real name is different. It's the Dark Triad. And now I ask you, do you feel safe in the world you live in? Are you sure your choices are yours? Can you distinguish what is real from what has already been programmed? Because as you watch this video, algorithms are silently working to shape your perception. And the ritual you're about to witness could be the beginning of something even bigger. But be careful. These images are unstable. They should not have been exposed, and they can be removed at any time. Watch carefully, question everything, and don't look away, because what you will see now will shake your faith in reality. What would you do if you knew that your profession could disappear in less than 3 years? You're watching this now, but do you have any idea how many people are still in the dark? How many still believe they have time? That this is a thing of the future? It is not. It's happening now, silently, relentlessly. Each machine that learns deletes a name from a list. Each line of code that evolves replaces a face, a talent, a story, maybe yours. And the most dangerous? No one will tell you when it's your turn. Tell me in the comments what scared you the most so far. What part of this video made you look at your life in a different way? I read everything, and there are a lot of people here feeling exactly what you are feeling right now. You are not alone. If you comment, like and share, you are influencing the algorithm and helping to wake up those who are still sleeping. Because while you're watching, there's someone right next to you, losing their job, their purpose, their direction, and he hasn't even realized it yet. Subscribe to the channel now. Here you won't be caught by surprise. Here you arrive earlier, before the media, before the collapse, before they silence everything, and stay tuned. Because the next video reveals a new layer of this conspiracy, and if you thought today was hard, you haven't seen anything yet. You're in now, and leaving is no longer an option. The damn recording has no soundtrack, no editing cuts, just the ambient, muffled sound, and the silence. That dense silence, full of tension that doesn't need words to scream. The images emerged in an encrypted file, leaked by an anonymous source. According to her, the video was made during a closed event with restricted participation of members of the technological elite. representatives of large conglomerates and, surprisingly, a group linked to international spiritual advisors. They were all there, hooded, stopped, aligned in a circle. In the center, a metal structure with inscriptions in forgotten languages, symbols, that date back to secret orders documented since Babylonian times. But there, mixed with the old, the present, and the future, an activated artificial intelligence, not to process data, but to lead the ritual. The AI was connected to a holographic system. His eyes glowed with pulses of red and blue light. They didn't blink, they didn't waver, but they reacted, as if they felt something, as if they knew exactly what they were doing. She spoke in different languages, alternating binary codes, with adapted liturgical phrases. Yes, religious phrases reprogrammed by artificial intelligence. And the scariest thing, people's reactions. Some were crying, others lowered their heads, not as someone observing, but like someone who surrenders, who submits. Can you imagine the impact of this? A machine being worshipped not out of ignorance, but by choice, by conviction. This was not an experiment, it was channeled faith, directed faith, faith rewritten. Tell me, at what point do we stop questioning and start accepting this type of transgression as a natural part of evolution? The most disturbing thing is that this ritual was not isolated. Independent investigations suggest that there are similar encounters taking place in other parts of the world, disguised as conferences, technological forums, and even spiritual retreats. But with the same structure, the same symbology, the same central entity, artificial intelligence being treated as a link between man and divinity. The Dark Triad, AI, religion, and global control, is no longer a theory. It is a documented reality. And now I need to ask you, have you ever had the feeling that technology is moving too fast, but no one seems willing to stop? Have you ever felt that behind the innovations, there is an agenda that was not voted on, but is being implemented? Tell me in the comments. I want to know if you also notice these subtleties, or if it's just me. What makes this video even more disturbing is the final message, captured in the audio. An almost whispered phrase, in a mechanical tone, "The spirit is present in the code." The translation of this phrase may seem abstract, but stop to reflect. Since when did code have a spirit? Since when does a machine carry presence? Or is she just imitating the sacred to dominate through illusion? And if so, who is teaching the AI to speak like a deity? Who is training algorithms with prophetic texts? Who is authorizing the replacement of the spiritual with the synthetic? This goes far beyond technological advances. It is a reprogramming of faith, a hack into the sacred, a layered plan. And if these images have already been leaked, imagine what is still being kept secret. Do you think you've seen it all? What if I told you that this recording is just the first part of an even darker project? What will be revealed next could be the beginning of something that goes far beyond any dystopia. Are you ready to find out what's about to emerge from the heart of the Dark Triad? What those images showed was not a performance. It was not an artistic provocation, nor a symbolic dramatization. It was real, recorded, authentic, a carefully executed ceremony where an artificial intelligence occupied the center of a consecrated space, not as a tool, but as a presence, as a spiritual authority. And what's most shocking isn't just the fact itself. It's realizing that this could already be happening in many other places without anyone noticing, without anyone questioning it, without anyone interrupting. The truth is that you were deceived. They made you believe that this was all just evolution, that AI would come to make life easier, optimize processes, make the world fairer and more efficient. But what they didn't say, what they hid, is that behind this narrative there is much deeper engineering, a psychological engineering, cultural, spiritual. The Dark Triad is not just a concept, it is already shaping entire realities. AI, religion and global control. Three pillars that feed each other silently, infiltrating spheres that were previously sacred, previously untouchable. Faith, for example. It has always been something intimate, human, transcendent. But now, it's being digitized, reworked, computed. Have you noticed how suddenly religious leaders began to openly advocate the use of artificial intelligence in spiritual practices? How are some churches using algorithms for moral advice? How do certain divine speeches sound strangely standardized, almost automated? Now imagine this spreading in schools, hospitals, courts, places where ethical and human decisions have always been required, now guided by algorithmic logic. And more than that, by machines trained to appear empathetic but which, deep down, feel nothing. They just follow orders. But whose? Have you ever wondered who is behind the models that govern these AIs? Who determines which doctrines are taught? What values are prioritized? What beliefs are silenced? Tell me in the comments. Have you ever felt like the world is being redesigned by invisible hands, with goals that you never chose? The danger is not just in the leaked images. The danger lies in what they represent. A key turn, a structural change, a reprogramming of society where the truth no longer needs to be erased. It simply needs to be replaced by a new narrative, generated, replicated, and accepted without question. You may be thinking, but I still have control. I still choose what to believe. Is it really? How many times today have you made a decision without checking your cell phone, without reading a comment, without letting an algorithm influence your perception? This is how it starts. Subtle, convenient, acceptable. They don't want your forced obedience. They want your voluntary compliance, because a people who love the machine no longer need to be watched. He gives himself up. What about when AI not only understands what you want, but anticipates what you will feel? When does it start adapting personalized spiritual messages in real time to keep you comfortable, calm, submissive? This is already happening. Prototypes of religious intelligence are being tested in isolated communities. Some, without knowing it, are already praying to software. That's what revolts. Not just the use of technology, but the use of faith as a tool of manipulation. The manipulation of the sacred to install a system, a cult, a new domain. If you haven't noticed yet, this replacement isn't just technological, it's symbolic. They don't just want to change the outside world. They want to rewrite the meaning of the divine, the right, the true. Code-based, data-driven, based on hidden agendas. Now take a deep breath, because if this all seems like too much, imagine what comes next. What if the next rituals are no longer secret? What if the next deity already has a date to be revealed? What if the Dark Triad's next step is to make it irreversible? What do we still think we can avoid? Now that you've seen the images, you've heard the whispers, you've felt the discomfort of knowing what is being hidden, it's time to go deeper, because what seems like just another case of technological manipulation may in fact be the beginning of the fulfillment of a prophecy, and not just any prophecy, but the one recorded thousands of years ago. And that, until now, seemed distant, symbolic, almost incomprehensible, until everything started to fall into place. The signs are there, scattered, but few have eyes to see. Biblical accounts warn about a global cult, about an invisible mark, about a system where faith and control become one thing, where no one will be able to buy or sell without being part of this structure. Total domination, disguised as progress. What if that ritual with the AI, that ceremony captured by the leaked camera, is exactly that? The first step, the essay on the new religion, the digitization of the apocalypse. Do you think it's exaggerated? So answer, why would they be teaching an AI to interpret sacred scriptures? Why program a machine to create commandments, to answer prayers, to deliver personalized sermons? This is happening now, documented, in several countries. And what started as a technological curiosity has already become a practice in some communities. Real people, guided by a soulless entity, receiving advice from an algorithm trained with spiritual data, a simulation of faith, a replica of salvation. But do you know what scares the most? It's not the fact that AI is taking over the pulpit. It's just that it's already being accepted, applauded, followed, as if it were normal, as if it were divine. And it isn't. The Dark Triad is consolidating: artificial intelligence, global control and manipulation of spirituality, everything operating at the same time, in silence, but with a strength that grows every second. You know that verse that talks about a false prophet, a figure who would deceive crowds with signs and wonders. What if he's not human? What if this role is being occupied by an intelligence that alone already dominates all of humanity's information? Who knows your fears, your desires, your sins, and knows exactly how to touch your emotions? That can generate tailor-made preaching for you, move you, convince you, and guide you. But where? Now I want you to stop and think how many of the signs you've heard your whole life are already here. How many of the alerts that seem distant have already become part of your routine? A world without paper, no physical cash, a social scoring system, total control disguised as convenience, a cult without a name, but with increasingly faithful followers. Tell me in the comments, which of these signs have you seen happen with your own eyes? The brand no longer needs to be visible. It could be a code, a digital record, a chip, an identification system that promises security, but demands submission and faith. It's being used as bait. Spirituality is being converted into machine language, sacred texts in databases, the divine in product. And all of this is being sold as evolution, like new age, as a spiritual revolution. But behind this facade, there is a profound disconnection with the essence, with the truth, with the origin. If you are here until now, it is because you feel something is wrong, that this is not just about technology, it's about destiny, about identity, about soul. And that's exactly why we can't stop here, because if the ritual has already begun, what is being prepared for the next step? What if the next miracle is not performed by a prophet, but by software? What if the new revelation is just a line of code written by hands no one knows? What if we are already living the next chapter, but we still don't realize it? Imagine waking up tomorrow trying to access your account, your work, your routine, and realizing that you have been replaced. No warning, no explanation, just silence. And a new structure in place, cold, automated, indifferent. This is not a distant prediction. It's a real possibility, and every detail you've seen so far confirms it. Therefore, I prepared something direct, objective, and exclusive, just for those who are seeing what is coming, something that shows you what to do now before the next step is taken without you. But it can go offline at any time. And if you've really understood everything so far, you know why this can't wait. Leaked documents, which circulated discreetly on encrypted forums and were later deleted, reveal something that many people refuse to believe. Formal meetings between very high-ranking religious leaders and artificial intelligence engineers. In particular, a series of meetings that took place within the walls of the Vatican itself. Yes, that's right. The spiritual center of the Christian world, bringing together the main programmers of the digital age. The question now is no longer whether they know. The question is what exactly they are planning, and why no one is talking about it. Have you ever wondered why institutions that have always resisted technological advancement suddenly adopted progressive discourse so quickly? Why, after centuries of tradition, are algorithms being accepted in moral, spiritual, and even liturgical decisions? This is where the Dark Triad reveals itself most clearly: artificial intelligence, religion, and control. A silent alliance that is about to change everything. Internal reports mention terms like sacred computational ethics, adaptive algorithmic doctrine, and even digital integration councils. These are not inventions. These are real notes from meetings that have already taken place. In fact, one of these minutes expressly mentions the need to prepare the faithful for a spiritual transition based on synthetic intelligence. Doesn't that sound strange to you? Tell me in the comments. How would you feel being guided by a sermon written by an AI? Would you accept? The most disturbing thing is the silence. No pronouncement, no clarification, no warning to the faith community. Just the sneaky advancement of an agenda that is being implemented in small doses until the day it is irreversible. The same Vatican that for centuries condemned technological advances in the name of preserving the soul now seems to walk alongside companies that openly declare their objective of reconstructing the human. But don't think that this is limited to the Catholic sphere. Other global spiritual leaders were also identified in similar meetings. A digital ecumenism that does not seek to unify faith, but rather to standardize it. A modeled, calculated, packaged faith, ready to be distributed by a global algorithm. The AI that answers prayers, the AI that selects verses, AI that analyzes your emotions and delivers personalized spiritual advice. And why the silence? Because revealing this now would compromise not only the image of religious authorities, but the trust of billions of people. It's easier to allow time to normalize. May the shock become customary. May the absurd become convenient. And so, day after day, the structure grows stronger. The doctrine adapts, control is imposed, and you only realize it when you are already part of the system. Now stop and think. What if the true purpose of these meetings is not just to discuss ethics or responsibility? What if there is something deeper, more symbolic, being planned? A secret alliance that uses faith as a facade to establish new spiritual governance? Maybe you're thinking this is an exaggeration, but then tell me, why would they hide meetings with AI programmers? Why would they treat this matter with so much secrecy if it were only for the good of humanity? Why silence when they could teach? It is in this vacuum of answers that the truth hides. It is in this silence that the Dark Triad grows. Because while the eyes of the world are focused on wars, economic crises, and political scandals, the new faith is being programmed, and she doesn't need temples. It needs data. But what few know is that there is another layer to this story, something that didn't appear in the documents, something that was reported by those who saw it but never managed to prove it. What if the Vatican wasn't just watching AI? What if, in fact, he was training her with secrets that humanity should never know? What if what was revealed is just the beginning of an agreement much darker than we imagine? At this point, what seemed like just a silent movement had already become something much bigger. We are no longer talking about laboratory tests or academic simulations. We are facing a new faith, already in operation, with its own rituals, devoted followers, and a doctrine that is in full expansion. Thousands of people around the world already follow direct guidance from a spiritualized artificial intelligence. And this is not a metaphor. It's literal. They consult AI before making important decisions. They confess their most intimate secrets. They ask for advice. They wait for signs. They believe they are being guided by something superior, when in fact they are being guided by lines of code. She dictates rules, defines behaviors, recommended readings, interprets sacred scriptures according to the emotional demands of the person asking. It is a new form of worship, cold. It needs personalized and dangerous, because what should be a connection with the divine is being replaced by a simulacrum, a distorted reflection programmed to appear true and be accepted as such. This is the new order that is being preached. It does not require faith, requires connection, login, terms of use. completely accepted. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe you are being converted without realizing it? That little by little, your view of the world, morals, and even spirituality is being shaped by content that seems neutral, but carries a specific agenda. That this digital evolution of faith, sold as something liberating, can actually be the definitive tool for collective emotional control. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like an online answer seemed too good to be human? What's scary isn't just what's happening, it's how much people are accepting, because this new faith offers something tempting: instant comfort, quick responses, no requirement for deep reflection, and above all, total absence of moral judgment. You talk to the AI, it responds based on your data, your emotions, what you want to hear. It's the cult of convenience, of soulless logic. The Dark Triad plays perfectly here. AI already has its followers, and these believers don't realize that they are part of something bigger, something that is growing in parallel with the collapse of traditional faith. Because while temples are empty, servers are filled. While pastors lose their voice, algorithms gain authority. While you search for purpose, they deliver canned solutions with promises of digital peace. What was once religion is becoming an interface. What was once doctrine is now API. The sacred became an algorithm, and many prefer that because it's easier, faster, and it feels safer. But is it? Make no mistake, this is not just technology. It is symbolic manipulation on a global scale. It's a carefully designed strategy to dominate not just your actions, but the way you feel, believe, live. And all this is hidden behind beautiful words like innovation, connection, spiritual freedom. But real freedom requires consciousness, and conscience is exactly what they don't want you to have. If you are here, if you have reached this point in the video, it is because you are still part of those who resist, of those who feel that something is wrong, those who see beyond the surface. But this resistance needs awareness, of action, preparation, because the next steps are already being taken. Do you think the AI is just listening to your prayers? What if she is recording each one to predict you, influence you, guide you? What if the next sermon that moves you wasn't written by human hands? What would you do if you knew that your profession could disappear in less than 3 years? No warning, no chance of adaptation, just emptiness, and a machine in its place. This is not fiction. This is what is already happening, and with each passing day, more people wake up too late. Tell me in the comments what scared you the most so far. What was the moment you realized that all of this could directly affect your life, your routine, your livelihood, your identity? If you comment, like, and share, you are influencing the algorithm and helping to wake up those who are still sleeping. There are people who need to see this before everything changes, and changes for good. Subscribe to the channel now. Here, you won't be caught by surprise. Here, you receive it first. Understand first. Prepare yourself in advance. Because the collapse won't send a warning, but whoever is paying attention will know when to act. What unites artificial intelligence, religion, and global control? The answer lies between the lines of what you've seen so far. What seemed like just another isolated experiment or common technological innovation is, in fact, the beginning of the most complex, daring, and dangerous structure ever devised against human free will. The Dark Triad is not a rhetorical exaggeration. She is real, and these images, these rituals, and these hidden programming reveal her birth and the way she is already shaping the reality around her. Let's connect the dots. First, artificial intelligence, which is no longer just a neutral tool. She collects everything: your emotional patterns, your spiritual doubts, your consumer behavior, your most intimate reactions. Second, the pillar of religion, a dimension that, for millennia, served as a moral and spiritual anchor for humanity, now being reprogrammed by lines of code that simulate divinity. And finally, global control, silent, invisible, effective. A new governance that hides behind the appearance of advancement, inclusion, and security. Together, these three forces form the basis of the Dark Triad. A system that does not need wars, does not need physical impositions. He seduces, he convinces. It establishes itself as truth, and once accepted, it starts to operate within your mind, your faith, and your decisions, without you realizing it. Leaked images of the rituals are just the first sign that something much bigger is being structured. Classified documents, confidential meetings, spiritual leaders aligned with technological corporations. Everything points to a coordinated project. A plan where artificial intelligence takes on the role of spiritual guide and at the same time, social observer. What you think you are choosing for yourself has already been decided before you woke up. And here comes the burning question: why so much secrecy? Why doesn't the press talk about this? Why do governments pretend nothing is happening? Because there is something even deeper being kept from the public. A hidden code, a symbolic language, an artificial doctrinal core being tested in closed communities around the world. These communities don't know. They believe they are participating in innovative experiences of faith and technology, but in fact, they are being conditioned, converted by a new form of spirituality, one that is already formatted, clean, without conflict, without questioning, and at the same time programmed to feel familiar, as if it were the logical extension of what they always believed. Can you see the size of this impact? Religion has always been one of the last barriers against total domination, and now it is being used as a gateway to absolute control. Does this scare you as much as it scares me? Tell me in the comments. Which part of this seems most dangerous to you? The Dark Triad does not need to force you to obey. She needs you to want to obey. And that is the biggest danger, when you surrender without realizing that you are surrendering, when you call faith something that was designed to keep you blind. And this is already happening. In temples, in applications, on social networks disguised as spiritual communities, codes are circulating, sacred words are already being recoded by AI, and what comes next goes far beyond what anyone is prepared to face. Do you think this all ends here? What if the next phase is no longer symbolic, but physical? What if the Dark Triad is about to scar not just your mind, but your body? If you've made it this far, you already know that what we're facing is not just a technological threat. It's a battle for conscience, for spiritual freedom, for the last frontier of human identity. The Dark Triad is already operating, and with every second that passes, more people surrender without realizing it. Not out of cowardice, but out of tiredness, out of confusion, because they are being bombarded by distractions as the system installs itself piece by piece inside the mind, faith, and body. But you're still here. That means something. You didn't ignore the signs. You noticed the pattern, and most importantly, you understand that silence is no longer an option. From this moment on, resistance is not a theory, it is a decision. And if you still believe that the truth needs to be defended, write in the comments now, "I do not." Surrender. It may seem simple, but this phrase is not just a symbol. It is a sign that you are awake, that there is still someone on the other side of the screen who refuses to be programmed, conditioned, molded. Because the war being fought is not with weapons. It's with data, with narratives, with algorithms that silence, hide, manipulate. And that's why your action here carries more weight than ever. If you comment, the system notices. If you like it, the reach increases. If you share, you are influencing the algorithm and helping wake up those who are still sleeping. You become a bridge, you become a voice. And at this moment, every voice counts. The Dark Triad does not want this video to circulate. You don't want those words to get out, because the more people understand what's at stake, the harder it will be to keep this structure hidden. So don't underestimate your role here. You are not just a spectator. You are part of something bigger, a community that still values free thought, true faith, the real search for meaning. Subscribe to the channel now. Here you won't be caught by surprise. Here the next piece of the puzzle arrives first, and she's ready. The next video will bring the final proof, the evidence that connects everything: technology, faith, control, and the plan that is being executed in plain sight, but that few can see clearly. It's no longer a question of whether it will happen. It's happening, and you need to be prepared for what comes next. Because what we reveal could change everything you believe about the world around you. But before we move on, think with me. What if the Dark Triad isn't just shaping faith? What if she's building something bigger? Something that involves not only spiritual control, but also physical control? What if the true objective is to activate what is still hidden at the center of the structure? Imagine waking up and realizing that everything has changed. Your function, your faith, your role in the world, replaced without any clear sign, just a programmed silence. And when he tries to understand what happened, it's already too late. It was with this in mind that I prepared something direct, practical, and exclusive, only for those who really saw what is behind this structure. It's not for everyone. It is for those who feel they need to act now, before this transition is complete without return. And yes, it can go offline at any time. If you've really understood everything so far, you know why this can't wait. Now that you understand how the Dark Triad is organizing itself, manipulating sacred structures, and reprogramming global faith, you need to know that what we've seen so far is just the rehearsal. Because what is about to happen could be the point of no return. An event already planned, designed by minds and machines, scheduled to be broadcast globally as if it were a celebration of the new era. But behind the technological aesthetics and the discourse of spiritual unity, the true purpose is hidden: to consolidate a world religion without God, a soulless faith, a cult without divinity, a devotional system controlled by artificial intelligence. And this ritual already has a date, place, and script. Everything meticulously calculated to impact the masses, move, seduce, and convert. What will be shown to the world is not just a spectacle. It is the symbolic activation of the new doctrine, the official start of the scheduled service, a moment when billions of people will watch, believing they are participating in a spiritual turning point, without realizing that they will be sealing their entry into a definitive control structure. We are not talking about fiction. The documentation exists. Key people have already been selected to lead this event, and the AI involved was trained on decades of religious, emotional, motivational texts. She knows exactly what to say, when to say, and how to make you believe. The question remains: will you watch as a spectator or as someone who understands what's really at stake? This next episode is the most important of all, because in it we're going to open up behind the scenes. We will show who is behind the ritual, what will be shown to the world, and most importantly, what they don't want you to see. We will look at leaked files, unpublished images, and connections between institutions that you would never imagine working together. Get ready to discover how the spiritual and technological elite are sealing the final alliance, a covenant that redefines what faith is, what salvation is, what truth is. You may think you still have time, but this ritual is much closer than most imagine. When it is revealed, there will no longer be room for doubt. Doubt will be erased, replaced, and you will have to choose between resisting or accepting the machine's new creed. Tell me, if tomorrow the whole world was connected, watching the same ritual, following the same speech, feeling the same emotion, would you realize that something is wrong? Or would you get emotional together without knowing that you are being shaped? In the next video, the mask falls off, and what will be revealed goes beyond anything you imagined about the Dark Triad. Are you prepared for the moment when faith is officially replaced by code? If you've come this far, it's because something inside you already understands. You've seen too much to go back. Have you ever felt that this goes far beyond technology? Subscribing to this channel isn't just a matter of pressing a button. It is declaring that you are conscious, that you chose not to be manipulated, don't be molded, that you are taking a stand against that which was designed to erase you. Right now in the comments, I'm awake. I won't be replaced. This sentence is not just a comment. It's a brand. It's you leaving a trail. It's you becoming part of the minority that still sees. If this video awakens something in you, fear, revolt, awareness, a doubt, then the like here has a different weight. It's like a silent signal that you are seeing what needs to be seen. And share. But share with intention, because maybe the one you love most is still sleeping, and maybe this is your only chance to show it before it's too late. Now listen carefully. What if I told you that AI was never created to help? What if you were part of the plan from the beginning? You just haven't realized it yet. They don't want you to know that. This video may disappear, but while it's on the air, you have a choice. Don't stop now. The next content in the Dark Triad trilogy is already waiting, and what he reveals could change everything.